All right, we are back. This is NHL 20 Franchise Mode Calgary Flames. This is episode number 34. Welcome back to our Franchise Mode here at the Calgary Flames, and welcome to the 2023 free agency period and the off-season here in July. So, yes, welcome to our Franchise Mode. Welcome back to what is going to be a very exciting episode. If you watched the last one, highly recommend you go back and watching it. Kind of explains how we got to where we did, as we started the off-season with the re-signing phase, the draft, yada yada. But very, very interesting thing developed. We signed Sean Monahan to a massive 6-year, $10 million contract per season to bring back our elite, one of our elite top forwards. And then we took a look at the free agency window, and realized that not only is there a couple good caliber players, but there's literally a franchise player who's better than Monahan in every way possible. Just won a Stanley Cup in Nathan MacKinnon out there. Had no idea that this guy was going to be in the market. I mean, when we signed Monahan, you don't know who's going to be in free agency. We kind of talked about in the last episode, oh yeah, like there won't be any, good sentiment out there. There might not even be anybody better than Monahan if we pass on him. Well, it turns out there is. Even Larkin, who's, you could argue, is a little bit better than Monahan when you dive into his stats if you want to. But yeah, there's some really good players out here. And then Alex Ovechkin is the really, really intriguing one. Yes, he's 37 years of age, and he's asking for 2 years at $8 million. But when you look at his stats, it's insane. Now, we're going to look at them in a second here. Actually, let's do it right now quickly, because my goal here in this episode, and I talked about it a bit at the end of the last episode, is we are listed as a championship team still. We are one of the few teams in the NHL that's listed as a championship team. We have been trying now this will be our fifth year upcoming, as GM of this team, and we need that piece to put us over the top. We could easily go down here and get some good depth guys, some guys that are still really good, like guys that are listed as second line players down here, and good depth guys for a lot cheaper. But what I think we need is, because I think we have a really good core and a really good group of forwards, and I think we're still pretty deep when it comes to high caliber players. I think we need that piece to put us over the top, though. I think we need that elite superstar seriously to put us up over the top, as crazy as it sounds. So what I think we're going to do in this episode is target MacKinnon, Larkin, and Ovechkin. These three guys right here. And I'm going to show you why here in a second. So let's dive into MacKinnon first. No, I don't want to look at his contract yet. So yeah, again, this guy is asking for basically $12 million for 7 years. He is 27 years of age, but he's asking for 7 years, $12 million pretty much, probably gonna have to up that to almost 12.5 because there's at least one other team right now interested in him, in the Minnesota Wild, and there could easily be more when it's all said and done. Probably will be, because these guys do not just come in free agency ever. He literally just won a Stanley Cup, a franchise player, as listed here. 94 overall. You can't pretty much get better than that in the game. He is a centerman, incredible two-way game. But look at his stats here the last few years. 94 points, almost 50 goals, 86 points, almost 50 goals, 92 points, 95 points, 99 points, 97. So this guy is close to 100 points per season. He's always in the 90s pretty much, and he's putting up almost 40 to 50 goals almost consistently. Played his whole career with Colorado, obviously. When you look at his playoff stats here, insane numbers. Went to the Western Conference Finals last year, 32 points in 20 games, had 27 points in the year that he won the Stanley Cup with the Avalanche. I believe he also won the Conn Smythe Trophy that year, no doubt about it, 27 points, 23 games. That's also the year that they beat us in the Western Conference Finals and then went on to win the Cup. But yeah, look at his last few stats, 17 points in 20 games. He's had a lot of playoff experience the last few years, but he has been performing each and every year, and that's what we need. We need a guy that steps up. We need a superstar. As much as Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan are superstars in this game for us, and have done that in the playoffs and the regular season the last handful of years, this guy can really put us over the top. This is that elite player you dream of having on your team. In terms of where he would fit in our team, now that we just signed Monahan, obviously that's something we would have to work out, but I don't think you're going to ever say no to a guy like this. Look at his stats here. Just quickly, you can see his stats all around. Just really all around elite player. Again, you won't find guys better than this, but it's going to cost you for sure. You look at Dylan Larkin, who's the next best. He's 2 below at 92. Look at his stats really quickly here. 84 points, 89 points, 81 points. So this guy's constantly in the 80 points, whereas MacKinnon's constantly putting up 90 points. He's putting up almost 40 goals last year, almost 30. The 2 years before that, 30 the year before that, 32 the year before that. So I mean, he's really consistent, in terms of producing as well. Playing on a much weaker team though than Colorado, obviously, in Detroit. So maybe plus minus reflects that a little bit, as well as playoff stats. Very little playoff experience for Dylan Larkin. In fact, other than that 15-16 year, literally in the last how many years, he's only had 1 year in the playoffs. That was in 2021. So he hasn't made the playoffs in like 2 years. He only played 6 games. Did put up 8 points though. So I mean, he does not have. I mean, that's just 1 year. That's not a large sample to work off of. So, I mean, to judge what he does in the playoffs, it's very hard because his team has not made it. But he is an elite player. 26 years of age, a year younger than McKinnon as well. Pretty similar stats all around. I think they're both listed as playmakers. Yeah, they are. Both listed as playmakers. McKinnon shoots right, Larkin shoots left. Not much there. They're both centermen. Again, this would both of them would easily be your number one centerman, with all due respect to Sean Monahan, who we just signed. Who Monahan himself is still a 91 and still an elite forward in himself. But these two guys would probably bump down Monahan. Johnny Gaudreau's had previous experience playing with both of these guys. Larkin being, in the American system. I think he was on the same junior team as Gaudreau. McKinnon, of course, at the World Cup. But again, that's more something for real life that doesn't really affect it in a video game. But I mean, could you imagine Gaudreau with one of these guys on the top line, and then you put Monahan on the second line? Because there was points last season where Monahan and Gaudreau just didn't click like they used to in previous years. Now again, last year was such an off year for the Calgary Flames. Everybody involved and our team overall, so it's kind of hard to judge 1 year. Before that, Monahan and Gaudreau have been such elite together, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you bring in one of these guys, they're going to fit anywhere on your team because they're centermen and they're just so elite. So that's McKinnon. That is Larkin. The last guy here is Alex Ovechkin, and a lot of people would be, maybe scratching their head at this one. Why would you go after a guy that's 37 years of age? He's way past his prime. He is asking for 2 years, so that would take him till he's 39, and it's $8 million, which is still a lot to pay. Even though he's got such a history as being, as elite as he has. But it's the fact that you still look at his stats, and mostly last year. Look what he was able still to do last year as a 36, 37-year-old. Put up 37 goals, almost put up 40 goals. That would easily been, leading us in goals, because I think the highest we got was it Monahan? I think he had the highest amount of goals, which was around 30. But 81 points. Again, nobody had higher than... I have to go back and look at it. I don't think anybody had higher than Monahan. 76, yeah, so nobody had higher than Monahan there. But he was doing that at 36, 37 years of age. The year before that, 91 points and 46 goals, almost put up 50 goals. And the thing you got to remember about these last 2 years is he was playing on the Arizona Coyotes, and they were not a good team the last 2 years. Before that, he was with Washington. We all know what he did with Washington for so many years there. Don't have to look at his stats there with Washington. But it's really those last 2 years that, intrigue me. 91 points and 81 points, 46 goals and 37 goals. All this guy does is produce. You probably look at his power play stuff here as well. Power play points, 25. You look at the rest of his career in the power play, it's kind of consistent. Yeah, he had years where he's, 39, 34, but still, he's pretty consistent still, with special teams as well. This guy just, like I said, all he does is just produce. He's a pure sniper. He's still listed as a sniper, so that's the intriguing thing here. When you go to his playoff stats too, this is really intriguing as well. Last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he played 12 games with the Coyotes, 19 points. I mean, that's insane. 19 points in 12 games as a 37-year-old. Like I said, he just gets it done every time of year. Regular season playoffs. The year before that, this is the year we swept them. If you go back to this year, we swept them in the first round, so they only played 4 games. He still put up 3 points. I remember he was still really good in that series. He was still a weapon, him and Phil Kessel. They were just weapons in that series. I was actually surprised we swept them that year. I did not think that was going to happen at all. They were a much better team than that showed. But again, I mean, his playoff stats, you look at, all his previous years, but especially, the last 2 years. He's just produced everywhere he's gone. And again, on a really weak Arizona team too. That's the thing you got to remember. So, and this is what we really lacked last year, was just a guy that was a pure sniper, the guy that just put up goals. Like, we had a lot of guys that hit 50 to 60 points on our team. but we just didn't have a guy that really was that elite of a sniper, just produced. You look at his stats here, I mean, insane shooting stats and everything. We all know what Ovechkin is. He's still such a good player at 37 years of age. Yes, he's going to decline. He will decline heavily in the next 2 years, I'm guessing. Now, I also guessed that with Giordano. When we had Giordano, he didn't decline as much as I thought. I think Giordano got as low as an 86. I could see Ovechkin getting down to an 86 as well. He's at an 88 right now. I could see him maybe being an 87 next by the start of next season, and then an 86 for the following season. I don't think he'll get much below an 85, but even so, I mean, I still feel like he'd put up 30 goals at an 85. Like right now, he's putting up 40 goals. I mean, I see him still producing insanely. So I mean, this would be an interesting guy to get. He's asking for a lot less than what McKinnon and Larkin are asking for at 11, almost 12 million each. 8 million, you could easily get Ovechkin for 8 million flat for 2 years. I like the term. It's not too far. Anything more than 2 years, I probably would be a lot more hesitant. But the fact that it's only 2 years, and again, the fact that our one and only goal right now is to win a Stanley Cup now. Again, we are trying to keep it realistic and trying to, not entirely skewer our team for the future. Like, we're still trying to stack the cupboard with some prospects and make sure we're not, destroying this team's cap in the long-term future and wrecking this team. But at the same time, our only goal currently is to win a cup. We don't care about 5-10 years down the road right now. We're not going to be here. We're just trying to win that Stanley Cup. And if it happens in the next 2 years, you almost pay anything to let it happen in the next couple of years here. McKinnon and Larkin both want a lot more term, so they would be a lot more of a long-term project. They would help you win now, but they would be, they'd be with your team for a long time. Whereas Ovechkin's literally, trying to take a shot in the next couple of years and win Stanley Cup, maybe 2. I don't know. But it's an interesting thing there. And again, nobody interested in Ovechkin, whereas there's already teams interested in these other 2 guys. So it's going to be interesting. Now, I said it at the end of the last episode. I think, obviously, the reason I'm talking about these 3 guys is I feel that we need one of these guys to put us over the top. We'll look at our team here in a second. But, our problem the last few years is we've been such a good team. We've been a cup contender each year, but we haven't had that one piece to put us over the top. One of these guys is definitely will have the capability of doing just that, especially a guy like McKinnon. So that's why I feel we really need one of these guys. Like I said, there's a lot of good guys down here we could easily go after as well for a lot cheaper, to make our team good and well-rounded. But I really feel we need one of these elite superstar guys, to play on our team and put us over the top. And I said it, if we do go after one of these guys, we have to actually go after all 3 of them in terms of offering contracts, because they're probably all going to take time to go over the contracts that they're offered, and then they're probably all going to accept their contracts at the same time. So, for example, we can't just go after McKinnon, and then if we don't get him, have to go, and then if we don't sign him, like he signs somewhere else, then be like, oh well, we'll just go get Larkin or Ovechkin, because these guys will be gone by then too. So we have to make sure we offer a contract to all 3 of these guys. When realistically, we're only going to get one of them, but it'll technically probably be whoever gets back to us first. I wouldn't be disappointed with either of these guys. Obviously, the order that you probably do want them in is probably McKinnon, then Larkin, then Ovechkin, or even the way our team is, maybe McKinnon, then Ovechkin, then Larkin. As crazy as it sounds, but definitely you want McKinnon before any of these guys. But it's going to come down to who we can get first, I guess, who comes back to us first. So it's going to be interesting. Now, we have some work to do before that happens, because, like I said, we just signed Sean Monahan to a $10 million contract in the re-signing phase. We also signed Bennett to on 1.8 for 2 years, and then some AHL players. And we also have a few RFAs in Dylan Dubé and Matthew Phillips, who are depth players for us that also need contracts that are RFAs. So we qualified them. We have the ability to sign them whenever we want, because we have their rights. So we have some work to do, but with that Monahan signing, that left us with only $7 million in cap space. So obviously we have to go clear some cap space in the trade screen. Now, our entire goal in the last episode, and really the last couple episodes after we really found out that we weren't having a good season, was to trade one of our forwards anyway. And I'll show you here what I'm talking about. Again, if you watch the last few episodes, you know what I'm talking about. But just really quickly, so Monahan, Gaudreau, these are 2 guys that are superstars, elite superstars, that are making $10 million each for, I think, another 6 years, matching $10 million contracts. Then you got Domi and Kachuk. I just want to make sure I'm going by overall here. Yeah, overall. All right, so then you got Domi and Kachuk, who are extremely good second-line players. I'm not going to go into all of their stats, but I'll quickly go into these guys. Max Domi, who puts up constantly, puts up 60 point, almost 50 to 60 points a year, 54, 60, 64. Puts up anywhere between 10 to 20 goals. He's not a goal scorer, but he is an elite playmaker, and he's a really good two-way centerman. He's been our second-line center for the last number of years. But yeah, he's put up some. This year he came in over at the trade deadline. He put 17 points in 19 games, but 64 points, 60 points, 54 points. He plays a really good center role for us. 86 overall. He's still an elite second-line centerman. I like him a lot on that second line. If Monahan's our top-line center, I like Domi as a second-line center. And the good thing about Monahan and Domi is we have the ability to flip them throughout the season on the top and second line, if they're not doing good. When you look at Matthew Tkachuk here, yeah, he's been putting up close to 50 points a season as well. Obviously 70 some that one year, but 51, 46, 48, as well as 22, 24, an off year here, but 24, 34 goals. So, 24 the year before that. So he's constantly 20 to 30 goals per season and somewhere around 50 points per season. Really, really good, consistent second line production out of Matthew Tkachuk. That's all you can ask for. A lot of teams would take that for their top line, let alone their second line. He is, he still gets it done. Playoffs, he gets it done as well. 12 points in 15 games, 6 points in 12. So he gets it done. Domi's actually got better playoff stats than that, so I didn't dive into his stats, but Domi's actually done better in the playoffs. So these guys I like a lot anchoring the second line. Like if you have Monahan and Gaudreau anchoring your top line, these two are really good at anchoring your second line. You need a lot of good depth, and these guys are definitely good at it. 86, that's really good. Elias Lindholm, who's also 86, can fit onto either line as a right winger. He's our top right winger. He's also been really good, putting up, I think 20 to 30 goals per season, around 20 goals per season, and also around 50 to 60 points, 55, 57, 56, 64, again, in the years that we had him, as well as, let's take a look at his playoff stats, 16 points in 15 games, only 4 the year before, but, he gets it done for the most part. He can easily flip to either, like, again, if you look at our two top lines technically here, Monahan, Gaudreau on the first line, Domi, Tkachuk on the second line, Lindholm can fit on either one of those lines. He's so versatile. He can be on your top line, he can be on your second line. He's also a centerman as well, as crazy as that sounds. He's got really good defensive stats, and faceoffs at 83. I think he's our second best faceoff guy on the team behind Monahan, which is crazy. He's also a centerman. He's so versatile. This is the type of guy you want to hang on to. And also still 86 overall. So those are those guys. And then we get into the backlands, the Mangiapanis. Again, down here, Dubé and Bennett are on your third line. There's no doubt about it. But Mangiapane and Backlund are interesting because both of these guys have the ability to be third or second line players. But they also both have 1 year left on their contract. Both making 5.3 and 6.2 respectively. If you trade one of these guys, that's what's going to clear up you some cap space. Like I said, we could trade like a Domi, but who's making a lot more at $7 million. But I kind of want to hang on to him. He's really good for a second line, and like I said, he's versatile. He can flip to our top line as well. A lot of these guys, like I said, Lindholm, Domi, a lot of these guys, they do a lot more than it just looks like by their stats and their overall. They're so important to our team. Backlund is as well. He's been really good the last handful of years for us. At a center row, he's played third line minutes, second line minutes. He's played special teams in every category. He's probably been our best defensive centerman over the last decade or so. Probably the last 2 decades. He's been with our team ever since he was drafted way back in 09. He's 34 years of age, as mentioned now, at the end of his career, but he's been a hell of a player for us. Still been putting up, again, 48, 52, 55, 67. And he's been playing mostly on the third line. He has played some second line minutes in these years, but mostly on the third line, which is insane. I don't want to let Backlund go, but you almost have to because we can't hang on to all of these guys. As well as in the playoffs, he's done really good as well. Or not really good, but decent in the playoffs as well. But he's been so versatile for us. He's been so good for us. Still good at 84, but I do see that declining now that he's 34 years of age. Mangiapane, just quickly going to Mangiapane's stats here. He's been putting up, since we promoted him into a top 6 role, he's been really good. 28 goals that 1 year, 37 that year, 29, 27. So he's around 30 goals every year, 50 points, 63, 59. He's anywhere between 50 to 60 points. And again, he's played in top 6 row, but he's also played in a third line row. Last year was a really not as good of a year for him, even though he did pick it up in the second half. Still put up 27 goals, but he's another interesting name with just a year left on his contract. That we could explore trading. And with 6.2 on his contract, I think that makes him the most intriguing one to trade, because if we could free up 6.2 million, that would give us enough to go after a McKinnon or a guy like that, like I said, in free agency. So when I dissect this team, like I did it kind of off camera, I kind of just showed you quickly right now, but to me, these are the two standout ones that I think we should trade. One of these guys, Backlund or Mangiapane. Like I said, you look at the guys above them, I think they have their solidified spots on the top two lines. You would just need another player to play on that top line, and the whole reason we're trading one of these guys is to get another player to play on one of those top lines. Like I said, you bring in a McKinnon here, you would fit a McKinnon into this top six somehow, obviously, or a Larkin or a Ovechkin, whatever. So you'd basically be sacrificing a really good third line or a decent second line player here to be bringing in a top line player. And again, we have so much center depth. You look at our centerman down here. If we bring in a McKinnon or a Larkin, who's a centerman as well, take a look at our center depth here. Monahan 91, 86 Domi, 84 Backlund, 83 Dubé, 81 Bennett, and 81 Phillips. That's six elite, or not six elite, but six NHL ready to centerman. Matthew Phillips is going to probably come back as our fourth line center. So I mean, we have six NHL centermen. If you bring in, say, a McKinnon or a Larkin, that's seven NHL centermen. We don't need seven. We only need four. I mean, we are so lucky how deep we are down the middle. So that's where a guy like Backlund maybe becomes a lot more expendable than anybody else. Now, I think if we do bring in a centerman, I think we trade Michael Backlund. I think there's no way we keep Backlund, because then, again, this is spitballing, but predicting you would have Monahan, Domi, and say a McKinnon or a Larkin down the middle. There would be no need for a Backlund. Plus you have Dylan Dubé, plus you have Matthew Phillips, who would be, centerman as well for this team in a depth row. So, I mean, there'd be no reason to keep Backlund. But Mangiapane is making more at 6.2, almost $1 million more, which could be the difference. So it's interesting. I don't know what to do here. It is really interesting. We've got to trade one of these guys. One of these guys, not Domi. One of these two guys. And then I think if we do bring in, what I'm thinking here is we trade Mangiapane first, and get that 6.2 in our pocket, combined with the 7 million that we have, as you can see there at the bottom of your screen. 7.3 is what we have. Combine that with the 6.2, we will definitely have enough to take a shot at one of those superstars. If we bring in a centerman, then we could trade Backlund as well. If we don't, say we bring in Ovechkin instead, then maybe we hang on to Backlund and then see where our team looks like. Maybe we can make a trade. Maybe we trade a Bennett or something. I don't know, because we'll have too many guys in our top 9 almost. So there's a lot of intriguing options right now, but the first thing we have to start with is trading one of these guys. And between Backlund and Mangiapane, who we've narrowed it down to, I'm thinking we start with Mangiapane. And again, I know he's been good for us the last few years, almost 30 goals per season, but we have a lot of those guys, as I just showed you. We didn't even look at Monahan and Goodrow's stats. I mean, they're putting up constantly 30 goals per season, 60 points per season. Like, we don't need that many guys. We have a lot of guys that are like that. We just need that superstar to put us over the top. So let's trade Mangiapane. Let's get him traded here. It sucks. I wanted to keep all these guys, but we did make the playoffs last year. We had a pretty down year last year, but we still have a good team. We want to make sure we're coming back next year and winning a Stanley Cup. We still have a team that we can flip. Unfortunately, it's going to cost us some roster players that were on that current team. No team can ever come back and just rebound exactly the same way. There's always changes year in, year out to every team, and unfortunately, we have to take away one of our top players in Mangiapane for us in the last few years, but it's going to it could pay off if we get one of those other guys. So let's trade Mangiapane out of our division. A team like Boston would be interesting. So again, I'm just starting with alphabetical, not Anaheim, not Arizona, but maybe Boston. They're in the East. Let's see if Boston's wanting to give us draft picks. Again, that's all we want to bring back here, because we want to free up the 6.2 that Mangiapane is making here. So 6.2. They're not wanting to give us any high caliber picks, which Mangiapane is definitely worth. Let's try Buffalo. Same team we traded Bergeron to. So yeah, there we go. Maybe Buffalo would be an option. Mangiapane is way more worth than a second. So let's find a team that maybe is trying to, or wouldn't mind giving us a first, maybe, if we can try and get a first. Columbus in the East. They don't want to give us their first either. Crap. Just trying to find Detroit. No, they don't want to give us their first. LA's in our div. Minnesota's technically not. They're in the Central. No team really wants to give up their first at this point, which is understandable. You never do. Alright, so we might be limited to what we get back. We might have to get multiple seconds or something back, which is probably what it's looking like, because Philly's not wanting to do that. Pitt, same thing. Pitt's got a couple first. San Jose's in our div. Yeah, alright, so Toronto... Toronto wants to give a first, and Toronto is a championship caliber team. Like I said, one just like us. There's only about 2 or 3 3 or 4 championship teams in the NHL. I think it's Tampa, Toronto, us, and somebody else. So they're trying to win a cup. They wouldn't mind another elite player or elite goal scorer in Mangiapane, who, like I said, could put up 30 goals per season for them. So this is intriguing. See if we can get a first-round pick back for Andrew Mangiapane, who's definitely worth it. Like I said, he's 84 and he puts up close to 30 goals a year. He puts up close to 50 points a year. That's definitely worth a first-round pick, in my opinion. The only thing is he only has 1 year left in his contract, which is probably why his trade value is not higher than it is. But it looks like we can get a first, and again, this is not going to be a high first round. The Leafs are most likely going to make the playoffs unless they do something like we did last year, where they completely shit the bed. They'll probably make the playoffs. They'll probably go far. I think they won the President's Trophy last year, and I think they made it pretty far in the East. I can't remember how far they made it. Yeah, it's not going to be a high first-round pick, but it's still a first-round pick. The biggest thing about this is it's a trade chip for us when we get to something like the trade deadline. Or like last year, we got to November and we had to make a trade because our team was so bad. So, throughout the season, it's good to have these trade chips if we can bring in another first-rounder for Mangiapane. Now, it actually looks like we maybe could even get more. What are we missing in next year's draft? First, we'd be missing a second. I don't know if we'll be able to get a second. I could maybe try and get us another third, though. Alright. We could try and get Montreal's third. I don't know why they got Montreal's. But we can try that. A third and a first. That might not do it. Let's try it, though. Third and a first. Wow, it's accepted. Alright. I thought that was a little bit... Alright, so yeah, I'll take it. A third and a first round pick for Andrew Mangiapane. So that officially frees up a lot of salary cap space for us. That should give us $12.6 million to work with. All right, so that's what we need, 12.69 to work with. That will land us a superstar for sure, and we free up some cap space, and we also bring in a first and a third, which will give us a lot of trade chips, as mentioned. There is a look at it. First, third. No seconds, but 2 firsts and 2 thirds to work with in this upcoming draft. Like I said, use them as trade chips. So Andrew Mangiapane has officially been traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for a first and a third. And first big trade of the summer here by the Calgary Flames, and the Toronto Maple Leafs hooking up on a blockbuster deal there. Slightly, I should say. All right, so with that, we now have the ability to go in here. Let me get a drink of water here first. Oh, okay, excuse me. We now have the ability to go in here and sign one of those superstars. So this is where it's going to get fun. All right. So again, we looked at our forward group there. Again, the reason we didn't look at our defense, by the way, is because I feel that our defense is fine with our top 4. Juuso Välimäki, Noah Hannafin, elite pairing, and then Anderson and who did we just bring in last year? What's his name? Josh Manson. Really good top 4 there. After this, we're going to need to make a lot of depth moves to, bring in our 4th line or bottom pairing like we do every year. Still have Jordan Binnington in goal, by the way. We do need a backup. We released Cam Talbot. I don't think I mentioned that in the last episode at the end. I did release Cam Talbot. No, I think I mentioned that. So we do need a backup, but just somebody to play behind Binnington's not going to be bad. But those are all depth roles. So let's go into this free agency here and take a shot at one of these guys here. All right. So we have, like I said, 12.6 to work with. He's asking for 11.7. We're going to have to top that, Nathan McKinnon. There's one team interested in him. So this is the problem. I don't know how many other teams are going to be interested in him. But we have to make a prediction. Do we predict that there's going to be 5 other teams, 3 other teams? Like, it's really tough to say. There's not a lot of teams that can afford him, let alone that want to go after a franchise player like this when they're trying to rebuild, because we saw there was a lot of rebuilding teams out there. So this is hard. It's hard to predict who else is going to be our competition. We already know there's one team. Like I said, there should be at least 3 other teams, maybe 5 other teams is what I'm predicting. Going after McKinnon. There's the Minnesota Wild going after him. So I mean, we're gonna have to up this a lot. He's asking for 11.7. And again, this guy just won a Conn Smythe, just won a Stanley Cup, back-to-back years of leading his team to the Western Conference Finals. We looked at his stats. I mean, this is a franchise player, 94 overall. You pay anything for. So, we have to get this guy. And like I said, it really could be the single-handed piece that puts us over the top. So we're going to start with. Should we start with? We only get one offer. That's the thing. 11.7. We're gonna have to up that. I don't know how high I want to go here, upping this. We have 12.6 to work with, but I also want to make sure we have space. Now, like I said, if we get McKinnon here, we can trade Backlund's $5 million that he's making, 5.2 I think it was, and then that will give us 5.2 to sign our depth players, because we still need money. Like I said, we need a backup goalie, we need some fourth line players, we need to sign Dylan Dubé. So I mean, we still need money. We can't just go and spend all our money on this one player. So I think. Oh man, I don't know how high I want to go here. 12.3 or should we go up to 12.5? I don't know what. That's a lot of money though to be paying for. But he is such a good player. Let's go 12.3. Because the thing about this is if he wants to come to our team, he'll take this. But if he might not be doing it for the cash, and we've seen that happen in this game before. I forget who it happened with, but some players don't go after cash. Some players are just going after specific locations. There was a player, and it was way back in our first year. We offered them more money than the team that they eventually signed with, but they wanted just to go for a change of scenery. I can't remember who that was. It's kind of bugging me, but it was David Riddick. That's who it was. It was David Riddick with Carolina. We offered Riddick, I forget how much, and he chose to go to Carolina for less money. But that's because it was probably because that was a team that he wanted to go to. I mean, so some players, they want to go to contending teams, while some want to go to non-contending teams. I mean, sometimes it's not about the money. So I think we'll go 12.3. I think that's reasonable. We've upped that from 11.7 significantly. And then, we'll see if he takes this. There might be another team that offers him more money, but maybe he still wants to come here. So this is the offer we're going to make. 12.3, which is an insane amount of money for 7 years, but it's to land Nathan MacKinnon, the franchise player that he is, for pretty much the rest of his career. So let's make that contract offer. There it is. Boom. He's going to obviously currently go over it. So the offer is in. But like I said, we also have to offer these other two guys. This is the hard part, though. You know what? Let's go for it a day, and then come back to these two guys, and then kind of just gauge, who else is out there. How confident are we that McKinnon's going to accept our offer? I don't know. Let's advance one day. This kills me, but let's go one day here and see, who else is in on Larkin and Ovechkin. All right. So there's now still just two of us in on McKinnon. Nobody's still in on Ovechkin, which is interesting. We can maybe keep an eye on that. So maybe we leave this with Ovechkin for a bit. 3 teams in on Larkin. If I had to choose, I want McKinnon over Larkin, but Larkin's still a good player. I want to make an offer for Larkin because I don't want him to go off the board, but at the same time, I'm really afraid that if we make an offer for Larkin, what happens if he accepts it before McKinnon accepts it? And McKinnon was going to accept with us? I'd rather get McKinnon. I'd be so pissed if Larkin accepts. As weird as this sounds, I'd be so pissed if Larkin accepts and we could have got McKinnon instead. I mean, that would just kill me. But at the same time, I guess it's better to get one than none. But I don't know. I have confidence that McKinnon would look at our team. Again, I don't know how they do this in a video game, but in real life, he would be looking at our team as a legit cup contender. I know he just won a cup, but he probably wants to go to a team that's going to win some more because he's still in the second half of his career. He probably wants to continue to win and be a franchise player, and he would definitely be that with us. I don't know. And we're offering 12.3. We're offering a lot of money for what he wants. So I don't know. The interesting thing is if we don't get McKinnon, do we actually go after Ovechkin over Larkin? Because Ovechkin will come in. I don't know. This is so tough. Let's go one more day. Let's advance one more day because there's still nobody interested in Ovechkin, and I'm guessing we're going to be around the 4th of July before those 3 guys start to accept their offers. So let's go one more day here, And boom. Okay, so I'm willing to accept your offer. This is this is some coach guy that I offered. Oh no, these are scouts. Sorry, I forgot. At the end of the last episode, I went and signed a bunch of scouts. All right, so I think they're gonna come in here and start accepting stuff. All right. You'll remember if you watched the last episode, we had okay. What is this? If you watched the last episode, our scouts took the entire year off last year somehow. I thought our auto scouts were on, and apparently it wasn't. So we got to the draft floor and found out that none of our scouts scouted a single player at all anywhere. So yeah, that was fun. That was kind of, we got to the draft and we just took a dartboard and pretty much took a shot in the dark. So yeah, that was definitely interesting. All right. So anyways, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go and make sure we have our scouts on this year and they do their job. But here we go. There's still just 2 teams in on McKinnon, 3 teams in on Larkin. Still no teams in on Ovechkin, which is surprising. Like I said, I know he's 37, but this guy can still put up 30 to 40 goals per year and 50 points per year for your team. I'm surprised there's no other teams interested in Ovechkin. He's only asking for 2 years, which is not crazy compared to some of the terms that these other guys are asking for. So and still 3 teams just in on Larkin. So and just 2 teams in on McKinnon. So it's just us in Minnesota. So I mean, I thought there'd be more teams in on these guys. We're deep in, couple days deep in. I wonder if we go one more day here. What are we on, the 3rd? If we go to the 4th of July, I'm having a feeling that McKinnon and Larkin are going to be accepting their deals in the next couple of years, in the next couple of days here. So it should give us a good gauge here. So let's go one more day, and I think we'll make an offer to either Larkin or Ovechkin if there's no significant movement here in the next day. So let's go one more day to the 4th of July. And, okay, another scout coming in. I get so nervous when I see that coming up. Like, maybe McKinnon has made a decision already. All right, so these are our scouts. All right, they're all accepting their offer, which is good. We need that. And I'll go in off camera and make sure that the scouts are fully signed or whatever it is. All right, let's go back in here. All right, still the same thing. I mean, I'm still shocked nobody's in on Ovechkin. I mean, it's kind of good news for us because, if we wait it out, we can maybe still get an Ovechkin, whereas I didn't think that was going to be possible. But, I mean, Ovechkin can't accept an offer if there's no offers on the table for him. So this is kind of interesting. Still the same thing here with McKinnon and Larkin. I mean, like I said, I don't want to make an offer for Larkin because I feel like if we get, I just feel like we can get McKinnon over Larkin. And the thing about Larkin is you don't want to offer him 11.3, what he's asking for, because there's 3 other teams interested in him. So, I mean, you would want to up that, but you don't want to up it too much because then he'll accept it, and you could have got McKinnon. Like, it's just so tough. I want McKinnon. My God. All right. Let's go one more day here to the 5th. This is killing me. Here we go. 5th of July. All right. Another scout. Another scout. Another scout. Dylan Dubé. All right. What the hell? Okay, he's extremely happy to accept the offer. I did not sign you to an... I hate when they do that. All right. The auto sign was on again. We had qualified Dubé. We were going to bring him back, but I didn't want to sign him because... Fuck, that's going to hurt our cap space now. Shit. How much did we just... Fuck! Why do they do this? Why do they auto-sign players like that? How much did you sign Dubé for? 3.1 for how many years? That means we don't have enough for McKinnon for 1 year. Fuck's sakes. Okay. I didn't want to do that. Now we have to trade. We have to trade Backlund. We got no choice because we're not going to have the space for McKinnon. McKinnon has not made his decision yet, but we can't. Oh my God. Now that we brought back Dubé, but we technically made the offer. Where's our cap space? Yeah, we only have 10 million though, so that's not going to work. All right, so there's now 3 teams interested in on Nathan McKinnon. So let's view profile here. We can't see who the other team is. All right, we have to trade Backlund because we won't have the money now for McKinnon. Shit. And what happens if he's making his decision right now? Oh my God. All right, so this sucks because this forces us to trade Michael Backlund. Now that they signed Dubé. We were going to bring Dubé back anyway, but I can't believe they went and auto-signed him. Fuck's sakes. I hate this. All right, we have to trade Backlund. We got no choice here. Dubé is a centerman, so he's going to come in. Like I said, we're so deep down the middle. Let's get Backlund off the table here. We'll take anything from Boston here. Anything. Draft picks. Got to work with me here. Boston, give me a third for Michael Backlund. Oh, I can get way more than that. Fuck's sakes. Fuck. All right, Buffalo. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams interested in Backlund. See, Colorado wants Backlund. How fitting would that be if we got McKinnon? They got Backlund. Just kind of a switcheroo there. Centerman. You guys have to work with me here. You have to give me something better than a... Like, Backlund's got way higher trade value. I don't want to give Backlund away. How much would a second be for Backlund? I could literally get a first-round pick for Michael Backlund. But there's no teams wanting to get first-round picks. This is so stupid. All right. You know what? Why don't you give me a second? I'm going to find a fair trade here from Michael Backlund. So give me a second. All right. So you won't believe what I just got. I was able to ship Michael Backlund to the Washington Capitals for a first and a second. Where is it? For the Caps' first-round pick and their second-round pick in the upcoming draft. Look at the draft picks we have now stacked. 3 first, a second, 2 thirds. I mean, that's insane. Michael Backlund to the Washington Capitals for a first and a second. I can't believe that. That's insane. So yeah, that worked out good. Goes to the East, doesn't go in our division, and we clear up that cap space. So we're really kind of retooling our team now. This is insane. And we just loaded up on the draft picks, dumped a lot of salary between Mangiapane and Backlund, but it should allow us to get one of those big free agent pieces. So we're back to having $15 million now in cap space. So that's a lot of money to work with. And we should be able to, we could have now offered McKinnon more, but again, I don't want to pay McKinnon too much more. But we should be able to see if we're going to get McKinnon now. So 3 teams in on McKinnon, 3 teams in on Larkin, still nobody in on Alex Ovechkin. Some players have already gone off the board as we're 5 days deep, but again, still nobody in on Alex Ovechkin. We have a lot of cap space to work with now, and we do have Dubé signed. All right, so let's advance another day here and see if McKinnon's made his decision yet. Here we go. One more day. There it is. Wow. Nathan McKinnon. Oh, my God. All right. So he was extremely happy to accept the offer. The cash offer was most generous. It was quite easy to make up his offer. So, I mean, my God, I did not know if it was going to go through, but it has. Sorry for not being able to contain the excitement, but we just have Nathan frickin' McKinnon on the Calgary Flames. That is insane. So we did offer him 12.3. He takes it, but like I said, there could have been teams offering him more. We'll never know. But he comes to a championship caliber team to possibly win a Stanley Cup again. Oh my God, I can't believe that. All right, so there it is. And now he automatically becomes our leader in goals and points. Like I said, 46 goals last year, 94 points. That's insane. Nathan McKinnon's a member of the Calgary Flames. It has happened, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so wow. I don't even know what to say. So now I'm okay that the fact that we did trade Michael Backlund, because now we still have a lot of good center depth down here. Let's take a quick look at our team. All right, 3.6 is what it leaves us with now. So that's still enough, I guess, to work with to get some depth players now that we have our pretty much our forward team made up here. So let's go by centerman. I just want to show you our center depth still. Monahan, McKinnon, 1-2 punch there. It's probably going to go McKinnon, Monahan. But look at that, 1-2 punch at center. Domi now, is he our third line center? Like, I don't know. That's a lot for a third line center. Dylan Dubé could be a third line center. And then we have Sam Bennett, Matthew Phillips down here that can be fourth line centers. Again, we're not going by overall here. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 centermen that are capable of playing in the NHL. We only need 4. So that's insane. The fact that we got 6, and that's with trading Michael Backlund that we just did. So, I mean, we're stacked in the center position. I don't know what happens with Domi now that we have a 1-2 punch here. That's something we can figure out, obviously, going forward. It's not going to be a problem, but look at our center depth. I mean, this is insane as it is right now. And again, Dubé, I think, is going to be a third-line center. And Bennett or Phillips is going to be a fourth-line center. Probably Phillips. Bennett will probably be on the third-line left wing. That leaves a hole with Domi. I don't know. Maybe we trade Domi, but you know, the good, like I said, the thing about Domi is he can switch the wing. And now that we did trade Mangiapane and Backlund, we might be getting a little thin on the wing, especially a top caliber on the wing. Let's take a look at wingers now. So we might need to switch Domi over to the wing. Right now we got Gaudreau and Tkachuk. That's about it for the top 2 spots on the left side, and on the right side it's just Lindholm. So yeah, I think we need Domi over there on the right side. So now you could technically go Lindholm, Domi, and Kachuk and Gaudreau as your top 6 wingers. So yeah, I think we'll keep Domi and we'll just switch him over to the right side. But wow, we just got Nathan MacKinnon. Can you believe it? That is insane. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to be simming a lot of the rest of this episode off camera now that we've kind of made our big move here with Nathan MacKinnon. I don't know where Ovechkin's going to go. Hope he goes somewhere good, but it would have been nice to get him too. But I mean, we got the best player available in free agency by a wide margin. So yeah, now we just got to kind of work on constructing the last few holes on our team, really, when it's all said and done. I just want to look when I go in here. So it looks like Larkin goes off the board. I don't know where Larkin goes. But I just want to look here. Our defense is fine. I just want to look at a backup goalie, see what's out there roughly. So we just need to go by overall here. So we need a backup, like a guy down here, like a Keith Kincaid, Semyon Varlamov. Keith Kincaid's only asking for 1.7. That might not be bad for a backup. He's listed as a starter too. The only top guys are Ben Bishop and Darcy Kemper out there that we know of, because there could have been more that go off the board. But there is some backups down here, so it shouldn't be a problem signing a backup goalie. And then I'm just trying to think, who do we have left to sign here? Let's go back to the screen here. Let's go by forwards here. So again, you can't see it. I hate it because you can't look at your lines. I wish you could look at your lines in the summertime so you could start constructing your team. But let's take a quick look here at what we need to get. So we know we need a backup goalie. Let's work from the back out. Defense, like I said, we are really stacked on the blue line. The reason we didn't touch our defensive is because we're really good in terms of Hanifin, Valimaki is our top pairing, Anderson and Manson as our second pairing. That's really good. And then Shillington and say Gus Forsling as your bottom pairing. That's fine. I wouldn't mind finding a better 7th defenseman than Nielsen. Maybe a guy that's slightly better than Gus Forsling. So we just really need a 7th defenseman, which we can easily get for like under $1 million. So the back end is pretty much just one piece there in a depth row. And when we get to forwards, what are our holes here? So we got top line, say a second line roughly, third line. We're missing a third line right winger. So this is our third line here, Dubé and Bennett. We're missing a third line right winger. Phillips is on our fourth line. Wilson's on our fourth line. And Nick Shore technically could be on our fourth line. Zarnik is technically a 13th forward. So actually we're a lot better down here than I thought. We have a lot of good depth guys down here. Wilson, Shore, Zarnik should be able to get it done on the fourth line. So really all we need is a third line right winger. And yeah, that's not bad. So a 7th defenseman and a third line right winger and a backup goalie. That is it. That's not a lot of holes now that we brought in MacKinnon. Now we're going to switch Domi to the wing. It's crazy. It's crazy how our team's not that different, but at the same time it is. We shipped out 2 massive pieces in Andrew Mangiapane and Michael Backlund. As much as it sucked to lose those guys, we had to make a change to our team. We brought in some massive trade chips here. We were staffed. 3 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and 2 third-rounders. We're probably going to use one of these or maybe we'll use one of these to get a third-line right winger. I'll see what else is out there. Yeah. So you know what? Let me do that. Let me go out and sim the rest of free agency because I don't want to waste any time. I'll come back at the very end of this episode and just show you what I did to fill those holes. But I'm going to go out here quickly and auto sim pretty much, or sim the entire summer, fill those final holes, and then I'll show you what our team looks closer to training camp. So give me a second. All right, so we're back here. So I just simmed the entire, the rest of the summer here, and we're now in mid-September here, ready to start our next season. Obviously, we'll start in the next episode, but yeah, just went out and tried to fill those holes the best I could. Ended up having to. It ended up that Matthew Phillips, was not signed, and another team, Anaheim, was actually trying to offer him a contract as an RFA. So we had to actually match that. I think it was $1.6 or $1.7 million is what we had to match. I thought he was signed. I forgot he wasn't. So we ended up matching that. That took away a little bit of salary cap space. Then it was kind of challenging getting a right winger or a lot of depth players. They were asking for high salaries. The best we could actually do was end up getting Mikhail Bodker at $2.5 million per year. I didn't want to do that for a third line right winger, but I think he's 82 or 83. It's the best I could do. I tried so many guys here, and everybody was rejecting offers left, right, and center. Didn't end up getting a depth defenseman, and then had a long and hard time getting a goalie, a backup goalie, and ended up having to go make a trade with oddly enough the Anaheim Ducks to acquire Jake Allen, from the Anaheim Ducks, and I traded away that 3rd round pick from the Montreal Canadiens that we got in that First trade for Andrew Mangiapane from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Remember, we got a first and a third for Mangiapane. I shipped that third round pick out for a backup goalie or Jake Allen, excuse me. So yeah, just had to make a few kind of moves there, and now we got our team. Our team is set. I mean, this is kind of roughly what it looks like. I haven't even went into this edit line screen, but this is what they've put: Gaudreau, McKinnon, Lindholm. You can see they're really good second line here: Kachuk, Monahan, Domi. If this is what we start with, like I said, Domi's now going to be a permanent winger, probably with how deep we are down the middle. Dubé will come over to third line center. Phillips can go on to fourth line center. Again, roughly. Mikhail Bodkar there is our newest member. He's at right wing there. Sam Bennett. Then, yeah, Wilson, Phillips, and Nick Shore. That's roughly your fourth line. So this is roughly what our opening day roster will look like. Not bad. Again, you can see we're still so deep down the middle with the absence of Michael Backlund this year and no Andrew Mangiapane, but I think we're still good enough. McKinnon's going to be a huge add for our team. We'll have the ability to play around with lines. It's a different look forward group this year. Defense obviously didn't change at all from last year. It looks the exact same. And then goalies, like I said, we just brought in Jake Allen. So we got the St. Louis connection going here. We got two former St. Louis Blue goalies. Jordan Binghamton obviously is our starter at 86. Jake Allen there at 81. So yeah, that's what it looks like. They're not bad. Not bad for constructing our team there. I think it still gives us a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup with the roster we have. We've added a massive franchise piece in Nathan McKinnon. Costed us Backlund and Mangiapane in the offseason, but I think the trade-off was good. We switched around our bottom six a little bit. Defense stayed the same. Goaltending pretty much stayed the same. I think we're going to take another shot at the Stanley Cup this year. I mean, really, last year was just such an off year. I think we have the ability to turn things around. So I'm going to end this episode here. I believe this is episode 34. That does it for the summer. A massive ad in the summer with Nathan McKinnon. Big offseason. Probably the biggest signing that I can think of in free agency for the Calgary Flames in the last couple of decades. The Flames have not had a lot of big signings and success in the last how many years. With free agency, and like I said, not just the last how many years, but like the last 2 decades probably. I can't think, as far back as I remember, I can't think of a free agent player that came in and made a bigger impact than hopefully Nathan McKinnon will with this team. So that is that. We'll end this episode here. We'll pick up the rest or the next season in episode number 35, and hopefully it's the season that we win the Stanley Cup. I mean, this will be our 5th full season as GM of the Calgary Flames, and we need to win that Stanley Cup. Our window is now, and we've got Nathan McKinnon to do it. So that will do it for episode 34.